Welcome to The Explainer. So, let's just dive right in. There is a very real chance that the shiny, brand new AI you're currently trying to get a budget for, well, it might already be sitting right there in your existing tech stack. But finding that hidden treasure comes with a hidden trap. So today, we're going to explore exactly why we absolutely must strictly govern the AI we already own.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. The AI you already own. 2. Assess, activate, and measure. 3. When AI governance fails. 4. The pattern of failure. And finally, 5. Native is not ungoverned.
All right, Section 1. The AI you already own. A hidden enterprise goldmine.
You know, it's wild, but most enterprise tech leaders figure out way too late that the AI agents they're desperately trying to buy already exist inside platforms they've been paying for years. It's honestly amazing how comprehensive these existing tools are now. Like Microsoft 365 Copilot has a researcher agent that can do deep multi-step research across your chats and documents. Salesforce has this autonomous sales development representative that just responds to inbound leads 24/7 completely without human intervention. Or Workday, which has a recruiting agent to screen and rank your job applications. Seriously, before you approve a single dollar of new AI spend, you've got to look at the platforms you already have.
And honestly, the best part is that checking your existing licenses with your platform teams takes almost no time at all. We are talking 2 to 3 hours, tops. The output you get is this simple but incredibly valuable inventory: what agents exist, what license tier activates them, and whether they're already quietly switched on in the background. It is a super fast way to understand exactly what firepower you literally already have at your fingertips.
Moving to Section 2. Assess, activate, and measure. Subtitle: Don't just switch it on.
Now, hold on a second. Just because you have it doesn't mean you should just flip the switch and use it. Just because it's paid for doesn't necessarily mean it's right for your specific context. We actually need to run a usefulness scorecard to make sure any agent we want to turn on is going to operate safely within our existing data boundaries. And this creates a really powerful new choice for enterprise leaders. In the past, you really only had 2 paths: build a custom solution or buy a totally new SaaS product. Those paths take anywhere from 3 to 18 months just to show value, and they introduce entirely new data risks. But now, we introduce a third option: activate. If your native agent hits a usefulness score of 4 or higher, activation basically becomes a governance instruction. You get to inherit the vendor's model and data handling, bringing your time to value all the way down to just 2 to 6 weeks.
But there's a catch, right? Because the agent is already included in an existing license, there isn't a new budget line. And as we know in the enterprise world, no budget line usually means no measurement. This leads directly to what we call ghost deployments: agents that are switched on, eating up compute power, but entirely unmeasured. To stop this, you absolutely must set a strict 60-day measurement checkpoint. If that agent can't demonstrate tangible value, like time savings, quality improvement, or high adoption rates within those 60 days, deactivate it. You've got to treat activation with the exact same rigor as a brand new purchase.
Section 3. When AI governance fails. Real-world AI catastrophes. Okay, let's pivot for a minute. What actually happens when we skip those governance steps? Examining these real-world failures shows us exactly what breaks when we just switch AI on without asking the right questions first. And these aren't just theoretical risks. These incidents span across major sectors, multiple continents, and more than a decade of deployment. They caused real, measurable harm to real people, all because organizations, who are often operating in completely good faith, just missed crucial governance gates.
Let's look at healthcare as an example. A massive health system tried using an algorithm to identify high-risk patients who needed extra care. The intent was totally noble: predict healthcare need. But the model used historical healthcare cost as a proxy for that need. Because Black patients had historically received less healthcare, they generated lower historical costs. So, the algorithm completely miscalculated and wrongly concluded they needed less care. This structural inequity systematically underestimated the needs of Black patients, which ended up affecting care decisions for millions of people. The bias wasn't in the intent. It was baked right into what the training data was actually measuring. We see this compound effect in government and social services too. Imagine an agency trying to automate the detection of welfare overpayments. Instead of checking specific income records, the AI used annual income averaging, literally just dividing a yearly tax return by 26 to guess someone's fortnightly income. It completely failed to account for seasonal or casual work. The result? Hundreds of thousands of false debt notices were sent to innocent people. It caused severe financial and mental distress, and eventually resulted in a massive $1.8 billion class action settlement.
Over in HR, a major tech company trained an AI to screen resumes based on 10 years of its own historical hiring data. But here's the problem. Because the industry historically hired predominantly men, the AI quickly learned to actually penalize resumes that contained words associated with women, like women's colleges or women's sports teams. It proved a really hard lesson. AI trained on biased history is just going to reproduce that bias at scale.
And then there's generative AI. An airline deployed a customer service chatbot that confidently invented a totally fake bereavement fare policy for a grieving customer, and a court actually forced the airline to honor it. In the legal sector, a lawyer used an AI for a court submission, and the AI entirely fabricated plausible-sounding case citations that literally never existed. The lawyer ended up being sanctioned. In both of these cases, the fatal flaw was exactly the same: a complete lack of output boundaries and human verification checkpoints.
Section 4. The pattern of failure, the questions nobody asked.
So what's the common thread here? What connects a biased healthcare algorithm, a destructive welfare debt tool, and a rogue airline chatbot all together? The failure in every single one of these catastrophic scenarios was not bad intent. It was simply that nobody asked the right upstream questions. For the health scoring, nobody stopped to ask, are we measuring what we actually think we're measuring? For the chatbot, nobody asked, what is the system even permitted to assert on our behalf? The root failure was just a complete lack of structured questioning before the tool ever went live.
And that brings us to what is probably the most important takeaway of this whole explainer. None of these failures required extraordinary technical skill to prevent. That's the absolutely crucial point. Preventing these disasters doesn't require a room full of PhDs in machine learning. It requires structure. It requires having the right people in the room to ask the right common-sense questions before deployment, not after the damage is already done.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5. Native is not ungoverned, applying gates to existing tools.
Let's bring this all the way back to the AI you already own, those native agents sitting quietly in your current tech stack. Look, just because a massive vendor like Salesforce or Microsoft approved an agent for general enterprise use absolutely does not mean it's approved for your specific workflows or your organization's specific risk context. Your internal governance gates absolutely still apply here. You still have to evaluate data access, and you still have to complete a usefulness scorecard. But native agents also introduce a really unique risk: automatic updates. Unlike custom software that you control, native agents update whenever the vendor decides to push an update. A capability that was perfectly safe yesterday might suddenly become risky tomorrow if an update gives the agent new autonomous actions. You absolutely must assign an owner whose job is to review those vendor release notes before the updates go live.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought. As you rush to audit your tech stack and activate all these incredible, value-driving AI tools already sitting right there waiting for you, I want you to look around your organization. If an AI use case looks commercially attractive, but it carries an unacceptable risk of bias or hallucination, who in your organization actually has the standing and the psychological safety to pull the emergency brake? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep asking the right questions.